Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Long Switch Academy. This is your host, Shubham. Let me know if I'm audible. Give me a thumbs up if you are able to hear me. I will wait for 2 minutes to just see who joins in, then we can start. The response to our previous lives was really good. We got some inquiries, some emails requesting more details about what I say, uh, Salesforce roles or which role is better for a particular person. So it was like kind of fruitful discussion that we had, and that's what our aim is at Long Switch Academy, to provide quality Salesforce education. Do let me know like what you feel and what you are what I say, feeling about your current situation or scenario with Salesforce learning. That will give us more visibility where are you at. 10 with 10 more seconds and then we'll begin. Just for the reference point, I have just outlined the items that we are planning to discuss in a Word doc. In case you want the link, do let me know in the comment section. I'll share it with you so that you can also have a look, or you can just have it as a reference point. So let's begin. As you know, you are watching Long Switch Academy, and I'm your host Shubham. And I try to bring with each live the topics or the questions that are crucial as a fresher in the Salesforce ecosystem, and we try to answer as many queries as we can, and try to uplift your spirit while you are still young at Salesforce learning. So do let us know what you feel about our videos, our live, and if you haven't checked out our official website yet, do check it out by visiting longswitchacademy.com. You will definitely get quality Salesforce based content, and which is majorly free, and you can just learn and grow with Longswitch Academy team. So let's begin. The main agenda of our today's life is how a Salesforce fresher should prepare for the interviews, regardless of the role for which you are preparing. We will be discussing some common like steps that a person should follow, that some common mistakes the person should not do, and how to appear confidently within for an interview, so that you can have your higher chances of getting selected. We will also discuss how not only having certifications are enough or is enough. You should also be skilled and should have something practical to show related to your role. So stay tuned, this live is going to be really helpful. So as I said, this live is mainly for freshers interview preparation. So this live is suitable for anyone who is a fresher or a beginner in the world of Salesforce development, administration, or in the Salesforce ecosystem, or someone who is willing to enter into this ecosystem, or someone who is planning to switch their career from their current role or current domain to Salesforce. They all can take benefit from it. And as I said, here we are not just doing the talking about this is good, this is bad, but we'll just discuss the practical situations that we have observed over the period of time with interviewers, at least while interviewing at Long Switch, and what pattern we have observed. So it will just not be a theoretical thing, but the issues that we see, and that we wanted to share with you all so that you can avoid. Mainly, it is like People sometimes are confused about what they are doing. Even they have been heavily invested in Salesforce learning, then also they appear confused. Sometimes they just lack the confidence due to the fear of interviews alone. Like they are having skills, they have the proper proof to show their work, they have some projects also, but they have a fear of interviews. And sometimes like you prepare for one thing and you miss out the other important thing. There are some candidates who doesn't actually know what the interviewers would ask for their role, related to their role, so they are not well educated on what's needed. So I think that is the another part. So here, as I said, please do not expect any sorry about that, theory heavy session. We are just here to like elaborate or explain the real practical situations that we observe in the interviews and how you can overcome them. And at the end of this session, we will also encourage some question and answers that you might have related to your Salesforce journey. So this is the quite the outline that we are planning to discuss as part of this slide. So let me know if you have any questions. I think we can move on to the next part. Next part, that is, what are the question? The first thing that when you start up, like, or when you plan for appearing for the interview, you should know what are the questions that can be asked during the interview. What are the common questions? What are the typical questions that you should be getting based on your role? That basic understanding you should have. We'll first discuss about the common question categories that are generally asked during the interviews, be it an admin or developer. First, you should have the basic fundamentals understanding of Salesforce. For example, you should know what is Salesforce, what it does, what are the key objects, what are the key processes, or what are the key challenges that Salesforce offers. For example, what is a basic object you should know, like basic naming conventions or basic analogy of the Salesforce platform, you should know. So these are the common things that are asked regardless of whether you are appearing for the admin interview or the developer's interview. Secondly, second category we can consider is the scenario based questions. For example, if you are appearing for an admin role, they can there would be questions based on scenarios that a regular Salesforce admin faces in his day-to-day life. For example, the lead conversion automation, or maybe like account status update based on the revenue, like that. So there will be some common scenario based questions also that can be asked regardless of your role, or maybe specific to your role also. For example, as I had given you an example of admin, similarly for Salesforce developers role, they can ask you a question that how would you write an automated process using Apex that automatically marks bulk context as inactive based on the based on a schedule or based on a certain value change. For example, we have millions of contacts. Now we want to schedule a utility that runs what I say on every weekend, that processes all the contacts available, checks for a particular value, and if they match a criteria, then we should mark all of them as inactive. So during this process, your automation or Apex based automation can pick one record to thousands of records at once. So this kind of scenario based questions also they can ask you. So you should do research on what are the common business use cases or scenarios that could be asked uh, re- related to your role while you're appearing for a freshers interview. So that is the another category. Now the third and the most important one, that is, I think majority of the candidates fail. That is project based questions. You wonder how that is going to be put together. Basically, these are the questions that come from the projects that you have mentioned in your resume. For example, I'm appearing for an interview and I mentioned that I have completed, let's say, three projects as a Salesforce admin. Then if the interviewer is serious to interview for you for the role, then he will have so many questions for you from those three projects. Maybe he can ask about explaining the requirements, what was the clear requirement of the project, why did you make certain choices within the for that project. For example, why did you choose a validation rule over a flow? For example, I'm just giving an example. So, or why did you not use flow but validation rule, like that? Why didn't you use like Apex, bulkified Apex over your Salesforce flow for this project? Like that kind of situations. Why you created certain kind of report for your project? Was it what was the need? So those kind of project based questions can also come from the projects that you will list. So you should be very careful while you mention the project in the resume. Make sure you only mention the projects that you have actually implemented, and most importantly, if you have done such projects from a company or from your like maybe during your internship, then you also have proper written consent from your like previous employer to showcase them on your resume. Otherwise it will create legal issues for you or the conflict also. So the project based questions depend on the projects that you will highlight. So you should know very every detail of the project that you are highlighting, starting from the business requirement to working solution, and why a particular decision was made, why you chose a particular path to implement something, like that. It can be for your developer role also. So if you are mentioning your Salesforce developer projects, then you should know that what was the business requirement, why you used a normal Apex over a bulkified Apex, why you used a normal Apex over a batch Apex, like that. Why you like you did not what I say use what I say cluttered LWC, like multiple Lightning Web Components, rather than grouping everything, all the functionality into one. Why you what I say chose to use a third party library in your project if needed? What was the reason behind it? So those kind of project based questions can also be there. I'm taking more time on this just to ensure you, just to clearly convey that whatever you write on your resume, that you should know, you should understand, and you should be able to explain. And then the fourth and most important is resume driven questions. For example, almost everyone has a habit of writing very big resumes. I did this, then I was a student ambassador, maybe I participated in this hackathon, I achieved this certification, that certification, I was the student union representative, like that. You mentioned so many things that are not related to your role. If the interviewer is smart, he will have a lot of questions for you from those information. He might cross question you, and your answer should justify what you have mentioned, and in short that should satisfy that interviewer. So whatever you write in your resume, you should know every detail, and those details should be reliable, trustworthy, and solid. So this is about common questions or categories that are there, that we see during the interviews, that this is how the interviews questions are categorized. Now the second part, about along with that, if we have to talk about a specific role, for example, what would be the Salesforce admin's typical questions if you are appearing for a fresher Salesforce administrator's role? Then they could ask you about what is Salesforce, and why it is a cloud CRM, and why it is better than others. What are the different like versions of Salesforce, like editions of the Salesforce, which one is best, why, like that. What are, like, I'm trying to cover only the basics of the categories. There could be more, but it will give you an idea that around which line you should prepare when you appear for a particular what I say role. So they can ask you about profiles, roles, permissions, basically user management. And they can also have questions around how the multiple aspects of user management varies from each other. What is the key difference? Which one to choose over what? For example, what is the key difference between profile and permission set? When we should use only profile and when we should only use permission set, like that. And as we discussed previously, validation rules versus flows. You should have clear understanding when to use validation rules, when to use flows, so that this will give the interviewer clarity about your understanding. I'm not saying that it will make you confident practically, but if your concepts are clear in your head, then you will be able to deliver properly. That will also help you to build the trust in front of the interviewer. Like that, they can also ask what is lookup relationship, what is master detail relationship, and what is the key difference. What are the scenarios in which we should use lookup relationship, when to use master detail relationship, like that. You should not only learn the term but also understand the basic business use cases, and when not to use something and when to use something, like that. And again, reports versus dashboards also, like when it is sufficient to only use reports over dashboards, when it is 100% mandatory to use dashboards. What is the key difference? What are the different types of reports we can create? And what are the reports, that what kind of reports or what types of reports a dashboard supports, right? What is the limitation around that? Basically, you should know. And here I want to give you a pro tip. When you explain some topic, you should try to have uh, uh, some sort of real world example with you that you can relate to your explanation. And if possible, if there is some limitation to of a feature, then you should also consider explaining that. For example, if you are using flow, there is a limitation that if the number of records that are supposed to be processed becomes too big, then flows won't be sufficient. They will start hitting the governor limits. In that case, we have to go for the Salesforce Apex bulkification. Like that, if you encounter some limitation with regards to the topic that you are learning, make sure that you explain that as well. That will give you an upper hand from from other candidates. Similarly, there could be questions around security models, like what is settings, what is organization-wide defaults, what is sharing rules, how they differ, when should we use what, like that kind of situations, or scenario-based questions, or topic-based questions can be asked to you as an admin. And again, these are the typical questions. But I also want to like let you know one thing. When you explain something, you should know what you are explaining, because some smart interviewers, or even the interviewers who are actually invested in the candidate, they will also have more follow-up questions based on what you are explaining. Maybe they can ask you counter questions about, let's say you are explaining what is Salesforce. Then they might ask you that why should I go with Salesforce? I can use HubSpot. Can you explain why Salesforce is better than HubSpot? So, like that kind of question, cross questions can also arise. So, I suggest you just do not mug up the concepts or definitions, and do not repeat the definition that you learn by heart from the documentation. Understand the concept and try explaining it in your natural language. That will help you more. That's what I have observed. I hope you are following along, and let me know if you have any questions in the meantime. Okay. Now, if we have to talk about like when they ask you such basic questions about the Salesforce admin, what they are checking, as I mentioned, concept clarity, how much your concept is clear. They again, as I told you, they are not looking forward to having a mugged up definitions like from the book or from the PDF or something. They want the clarity, how well you understand the concept, and your ability to explain the same thing in a simple language that an end user can understand. Let's say someone who is interviewing might not be what I say, might not be that much well versed with the theoretical aspects of Salesforce, but he uses the Salesforce from a practical standpoint, so he understands everything how Salesforce works. So what you are explaining should make sense to that kind of person also. So your language should be that simple, yet it should be conveying the meaning of what you are trying to explain. So I hope you can I hope you understand that. And again, as I told, always have an example ready with your uh, explanation. So if you have some sort of real world uses explanation attached to what you are explaining, that will add to your value in front of the interviewer, and that can help you to score extra marks. So this is about the basics of typical questions of for Salesforce admin. Now let's move on to the basic typical questions for Salesforce developer. Like as you know, Salesforce's Apex programming is closely based on Java programming language. So apart from the basics of Apex, there will be answers related to object-oriented programming, what or the key fundamentals of the programming languages such as you should know what is a class, what is an object, what is object oriented programming, polymorphism, inheritance, static keyword, access modifiers, access specifiers, functions, overloading, or what I say, function scope, block scope, control statements, loops, exception handling. These kind of the basic of the programming you should know. There will be definitely questions based on them. And if we have to talk about specific to Apex, there would be questions based on what is Apex, normal Apex versus triggers. Like they will ask you what is, explain Apex to them, explain Apex triggers to them, and how a normal Apex class is different from a trigger. Like what is a trigger, when to use, what types of triggers are there, when not to use trigger, what is the best practice for using trigger, and what are the operations supported in the trigger, like that. That can be questions. And what is the syntax? I know you might be sounding how like why would they ask a syntax? Yes, I have seen in the interviews that there are people who know everything about the trigger. They are very well, very well. They were very well with the explanation of the triggers, the core concepts, the theory, everything, and they even suggested what I say, big good business use cases, but they didn't know the syntax of the Apex. We asked them to just write a basic Apex trigger with a syntax, but they were unable to figure out. Even they didn't know how to write an Apex, basic Apex syntax, Apex trigger syntax. So you just don't only not only as a developer you should not only rely on the theoretical questions. They might ask you to write down a basic syntax for a particular concept. So you should be prepared with that also. And when you're working as a developer or especially on the Apex programming, it is not difficult, or uh, it is not uncommon that you hit the government limits if you don't organize your code well, if you don't optimize it well. You will start hitting the government limits of Salesforce platform. So you should be aware of what are the common governor limits, what are the best practices to avoid them, and in case you hit the governor limits, what are the necessary corrective measures or steps you should take. So these are the things that you should practice. What is like SOQL or SOSL, like search object query language, and objects like search language. What is the key difference between them? When to use what, and what are the benefits that offers, or what are the benefits that SOSL offers, like that. So you should know the basics of these. And again, I'm repeating, for SOQL or SOSL, you should know the basic syntax, like what are the key building blocks of writing a SOQL query, how should you write a basic SOQL query, what are the capabilities of a SOQL query, how to apply limits, how to what I say, optimize it, how to mention fields, like that you should know. And similarly for SOSL also. And the fourth comes is the major part. Even though you are a fresher, sometimes, or I would say 90% of the times, you are expected to explain the bulkification, how you achieve bulkification in Apex. If you are able to answer this, if you are able to demonstrate the practical use of it, I guarantee you, you get 10%, 20% more chances of getting hired, because this is the biggest pain point of in the life of a Salesforce developer who majorly works with Apex programming. So if you are good at it, definitely you have a really good upper hand than others. And this is all about the Apex. If you have to come or talk about the front end, then you should know Lightning Web Components, because this is the latest technology that Salesforce is using. Then you should know why Salesforce is no longer using Aura, what is the key difference between LWC and Aura, and in case if I have to migrate from Aura to LWC, uh, what is the procedure to do that. And on this note, I also wanted to give you a tip. There will be interviews in which they will ask whether you can call an LWC component within an Aura component, because as as per my understanding, or as per my knowledge, there are still organizations who are using Aura heavily. They have not migrated to LWC. So if you are appearing for the interview for such companies, there will definitely be a question based on whether you can use LWC component within Aura. This is an homework for you. If you are really serious about your Salesforce developer interview, go find answer for it. And if you find it, do let me know in the comment section below. Let me know how that is sounding. In case you have anything for me, do let me know. I'll definitely try to help. I'll definitely try to answer your questions. And apart from that, as we discussed while we were talking about admin's role, in as a developer also, there will be questions for you that when you can just use Flow instead of Apex for some sort of automation or something, you should have a couple of examples ready, that okay, in this scenario I think we should not use Apex and we should go with flows. So that thing you should have handy with you. And again, uh, here I wanted to highlight that while I was explaining you the importance of remembering syntax, I was not literally meaning to just memorize it, but you should be able to write it at least. Because, for example, your logic is good, that is expected. Interviewers ask that you should understand the logic. But let's say some interviewers play tricks with you. They give you two syntaxes. For example, they write a syntax A to define a trigger, then they write a syntax B to write a trigger, and then they ask which one is correct. If you don't understand the basic syntax, then how would you choose the right one? At that point of time, they might not give you an opportunity to explain your logic or write your logic. So here, the key insight is that your logic should be good. You should be able to write logical solutions, but you should not just focus on memorizing the code or memorizing the syntaxes, right? You should not memorize any code. You should build your logic building capability, that if any problem is given to you that you have to solve with an Apex class, you should be able to write the logic on your own rather than mugging that up. So that we should focus on. This completes the basic overview of the typical interview pattern for both developer and the admin. Let's see if we have any questions. I think we don't have any. So we'll move on to the Salesforce admin versus developer career guidance. Here, this is the key question because I have observed that majority of the, or I would say, uh, quite a fair amount of candidates, they are still confused whether to go with developer or admin. Or I have seen considerable amount of candidates who just want an opportunity, be it admin or developer, regardless of their interest. And I believe uh, that's not the right way of choosing a career, because you're not running like you're not running a what I say race. It is a long marathon that you have to run. Your career will be of long span, right? So you have to choose wisely based on your, I would say, background. If you are from a non-technical background or career switcher, I suggest you can go with admin. But if you are interested in coding and have a programming background or technical background, then you should explore developers role. And also, it is also not just about the background. Some I have seen people who are really good at coding, but they don't have interest in that. They can't sit long hours on the PCs just doing programming or coding. They don't like it. So you should also consider your interest. And again, as I said, you are not running a race. You are here to make your career. So it is a long term investment in your journey. So you should aim for the careers which suits your background, suits your interest, and according to you gives you long term growth goals. So these are the key basic criteria of choosing the right career. And here, just for your reference, tried creating a small career progression path for each of the role. For example, if you started as an admin, first you become a junior admin or a fresher admin, then you get promoted to senior admin. Once you become a senior admin, you can target the business analyst role. If you succeed in that, spend some years in that, get quite hands-on experience in that, then you can aim for solution architect. That would be your uh, last designation that you can achieve in this path. Similarly, if you start as a developer, you become a junior developer, then you get promoted to senior developer, then tech lead, then technical architect. This is a just basic progression path for each of your roles. So just to give you clarity and just to give you more relativity, that where you relate to yourself, which relate to yourself or your goals. Accordingly, you can decide. And here again, this market reality segment is purely based on what I understand from the market and what I have experienced over the period of time. This is subject to research. You can also research on that part. As I said, as I have highlighted, both the roles are in demand, provided you appear for the interview at the right place. Skills and projects matter most more than the role title. Exactly, whether you want to become an admin or developer, your skills, what you have, and projects, what you have to showcase on your resume, that belongs to your work or something, that matters the most. And switching paths later is possible. Yes, again, Salesforce is so flexible that if you have started as an admin, later after some time you develop interest in developer's path, then you can easily switch. But again, that switch sometimes becomes slow, or maybe you have to take a step back from your package standpoint or from your learning curve. So the switch is possible, but sometimes it can be slow and may result in some package differences from what you are getting as a senior role in a one particular path may not match with the other career path where you are just starting out. So that reality check you should have with you. And let's see if we have anything. I think we don't have any questions or anything. Let's see. Step 4. Here I tried outlining step by step Salesforce interview preparation strategy that you can follow. And I think this, I would not say this will guarantee you a success, but this will give you enough confidence to appear confidently during in the interviews. That's what I can guarantee. So first, you should be good at strong. You should be strong at the fundamentals. As I said, you should know core Salesforce concepts, object model, security, automation. You should know the basics of it, and you should be good at explaining them. Then, secondly, as I mentioned, you should just not mug up the concept. You should not just memorize everything, but you have to have the hands-on practice or something that you can show practically in your developer or in your trailhead module or something. So you have to think about possible business use cases related to what you are learning and start implementing them to showcase to your future employers. And again, you just avoid learning only, start implementing them. Third, project thinking. For example, you are learning something, must have thought about some business use cases also, but when you start implementing something, you should have questions why I'm doing such thing. As I mentioned earlier, if I'm automating something, I should know why I am using an Apex class or batch Apex over a flow in this business use case. Why did I just choose a flow, not the validation rule for this use case? That kind of questioning to yourself will give you more clarity and will give you more avenues to explore that why a certain thing is done. And during with this process, you enlighten yourself and you will get more uh, clarity on why a certain technical decision is made to implement certain things. So do practice that. Step 4, mock interviews. Now you have understood all the concepts, thought about possible business use cases, implemented them with the mindset of a project, and you have all the questions answered related to that project also. But you don't practice that out with someone, then how would you know that you would be confident while giving you the interview? So maybe you can schedule some mock interviews, what I say, with your friends, with your seniors, or with your even family members, or maybe someone related to the field. That would be more important, I guess, because they can ask you more relevant questions. So you should find the places where or the maybe portals where you can do a mock interview for your role, so that you get a first hand experience even before appearing for the interview. And that way you not only practice the things that you are lacking, but you can also check your confidence level, your ability to answer promptly in a given situation or a scenario. So that kind of clarity you will get. So while rather than just keeping everything to yourself, I suggest you should do mock interviews before you appear for the actual interview. And resume alignment, this is most important. And as I have already highlighted, that you only list what you can explain. Don't just fill the pages. Don't create a 4 page, 5 page resume. But if a basic question is asked to you and you are unable to answer that, then there is no point of having that much of big resume with you. So only mention that you can explain, and only mention the items where you can answer the questions related to that. Okay. I hope this is the good strategy. If you stick to this, definitely you will see good results. And again, if you want practical, real business scenario based internship, or where you get get to work on real projects, then you can also enroll with our paid internship plans. You can go and check out our website for more details. In case you have any questions, do let me know in the comment section below. So let's move on to the next item. Let's see if we have any questions. I think no. And again, whoever is watching, in case you have, if you are getting value from these sessions, I will request you to share with your friends who can take benefit from it, and help us to reach to the people who might take benefit from these free lives. We'll really appreciate that. So the fifth point would be common interview mistakes that Salesforce freshers make. And again, these are the mistakes that I have personally observed during the interviews, and I think I should mention them so that you might eliminate these from your interviews. First, I have tried categorizing them with three common categories such as technical mistakes, non-technical mistakes, or mindset mistakes. I'll talk about the technical mistakes first. Let's say these both of these roles are technical, right? So here, when we talk about technical things, do not like people often just try memorizing answers without understanding what a particular thing mean. For example, if I ask you explain flow to me and what are the different types of flow, and you just have a definition mugged up for the flow and you explain all the different types of the flow, then I ask you why and when should we use like schedule triggered flow. Why should we use that? When should we use a screen flow over a record triggered flow? If you can't answer these basic questions, then that creates doubt on your skills or your clarity about the concept. So don't memorize anything, understand them, and then try to answer. And whatever you are explaining, it should be meaningful. Second, and the biggest mistake that I have observed, that people mention, let's say, three, four projects in their resume, and when we ask about each one of them, that okay, explain this project, what was your role, what was the strength of the team, what was the requirement, and trust me, they were not even able to explain the requirements. And in the 90% of the chances cases, I get an answer that they have copied this project from some YouTube video, or maybe they use some chat gpt or AI to build this project for them, and then they just followed those instructions and copy pasted them in their org. But sadly, it is bad. It really puts you in the bad impression, and it creates really uh, bad impression of yours. So do not mention the project that you have not completed, or do not mention the project that you are not entitled to list on your resume. Sometimes I have also seen interview like candidates have mentioned the interview the projects that they have done as part of their internship at some organization, and when upon asked about some more details about the project and all, they said that we just did it there. And I just first straightforward question I asked to them, do you have the written consent from your past employer to list it down on your resume? If they say no, then I immediately reject that candidate, because everyone want a trustworthy person who is loyal to your organization. If someone is misusing their previous employer's projects, then they will misuse yours also. I believe you don't want to have someone who is not loyal or who is not trustworthy at the first place. You don't want to hire them. So only mention the project you are entitled to show, and only mention the project that you know or created by you, otherwise you will be in a problem. Third, overusing certifications as proof of skill. This is really a strange case that I have observed recently, I would say in last 1 or 2 years, where people apply for the interviews and they have nearly 5 to 6 certifications, PD1, then admin, then like AI specialist, like that. So, they immediately start their first message or first email that they write, I'm a 6 time Salesforce certified developer or admin with, let's say, 50,000 plus trailblazer, yeah, trailhead points like that. To be very honest, I don't get impressed with that. And often, um, when I interview such candidates, I just ask very few basic questions. What is the key difference between, for example, what I say, flow and validation tool, for example? I just ask, how would you bulkify an Apex code, or what is an object-oriented programming? If I'm interviewing for the developer's role, and trust me, they are not able to explain these basic questions, then what is the point of you achieving uh, 6 or 7 or 10 certifications when you don't have the real skill? I know I might sound repetitive, but trust me, only having certification is not the guarantee that you have the skill. But if you are skilled and can showcase that during the interview, you will have the high probability or high chances of getting hired than the one who just have these certifications. So, because Salesforce has promoted their certification program in such a manner that by just reading or mugging up from some cheat sheet or some books or something, you can easily pass those exams, and it is not a big deal, to be very honest. So do not just rely heavily on your certifications. Then there comes the another category, non-technical mistakes. For example, sometimes there are chances that the candidate is has so many to say, but maybe due to nervousness, maybe due to some, what I say, um, not getting the proper words to explain, they simply say, I don't know. When I'm putting a question, and in his head the candidate knows that, okay, I don't know how to explain this, or maybe I don't know the answer, they just quickly say, I don't know. That shows that you are in a rush, or when anything comes to you which is not comfortable, you will step away. This sends a big psychological signal uh, to your interviewer, because we all are in a technical field and there will be situations or scenarios for which you are not familiar or that are new to you. In that case, you have to stand firmly, try to evaluate and come up with a possible solution. So in case you don't know the answer, buy some time to come up with something, or there has to be no hurry in saying no. Even though you are going to say no, but take your time, try thinking, try explaining something. Don't show yourself in a rush. That will be a big no. Then, not asking clarifying questions. For example, I asked some questions to some candidate and he is not clear about the question itself. I have seen only a few people just ask, what does I mean? Or the question is not clear to them, then I evaluate or elaborate that question to them, and then they are able to answer. So in majority of the people I have observed, they don't ask the cross questions, or they don't ask the clarifying questions that, okay, I didn't understand this, could you please elaborate? So develop an habit when you might know the answer but you don't know the question itself. So if you are in that kind of dilemma or doubt, do ask questions that will help you to answer better in a better manner. And third, as I said, poor communication and explanation. You are not good at communication and you know everything but you can't explain. So that will also mark you as a bad candidate. In this current age, nobody is there to teach you basic communication skills. To be very honest, you should get your head straight with that. You should be good at communication. I'm not saying in language, but communication. If you can't explain anything in Hindi, sorry, in English, or if you know Hindi well or any local language, and if the interviewer is willing to help you with that language barrier, then you should ask that, okay sir, I can't explain that in English, can I speak in Hindi? For example, I know Hindi, or maybe in Gujarati, then I'm ready to listen to the explanation. So choose the correct communication medium if you are not fit into particular one, and if the options are there. We cannot blame companies, because every company has their defined interview procedure. Some companies only prefer to interview candidates in English. So you should work on your communication, that shouldn't be poor. And the third category would be, before I go into that, let me check if we have any questions. Not yet. uh, Mindset mistakes. For example, the candidate is good, he's not making any technical or non-technical mistake, but he has these three things. First, fear of making mistakes. Some people are so tensed during the interviews that they always live in a fear that, what if I make a mistake? What if anything go wrong? What if like I can't explain? They just live in this fear during the interview, and they just commit mistakes that can't, and such mistakes can't be reversed. So you should not have fear of making mistakes. It is quite possible that you make mistakes, you learn from them, it's okay, but do not live in the fear of making mistakes. And secondly, you are appearing for a fresher's role. You should have your mindset clear that they will ask you questions based on the fresher's role only. Do not compare yourself with a 2 year, 3 year experienced candidate. If or what they are doing in their lives, you are appearing for the freshers role. Be good at it, and expect the candidate the interview will be based on that role only. Do not assume that, what if they ask you uh, questions like an experienced candidate? That will create a layer of fear across you, that what if they ask this, what if they ask that. Be firm and confident about what you know, and explain that very well. And third and most foremost important here, here I just want to take 1 or 2 minutes before I just want to have a water. Pardon me. Okay, here I have seen this pattern. Almost every day I have received 10 to 15 resumes that they want a job, but they do not have the real world internship experience, or they don't have a professional training within the Salesforce ecosystem. Then how would you expect any company will give you a job? So when you are a fresher, don't have experience or internship experience or a real world experience, you should first be ready to enroll as an intern somewhere or trainee before expecting a real job. So you have to get your hands dirty with the job or the work that is needed or expected from you before you expect a job. You should have that clarity with you. You are not going to get job before any training or internship. That I think you should be clear with. Sixth point here is importance of projects, internships, and portfolio. And I'll be talking about that. First of all, as I have already explained, that projects matter more than the certificates, right? Because interviewers will ask you questions from the projects, not from the certificates. And if you have done any projects on your own in your for your role, it is a solid proof of applied knowledge in your field, and it also gives you an upper hand, or it differentiates you from other candidates who don't have the project experience, they might have certifications. So you should be focusing on making real projects rather than gaining more trailhead points or certifications. Often I get these numbers, I never go after that. I have never visited anyone's trailhead profile because for me, a candidate is good enough when he or she is able to answer the questions that are needed for a job for that particular role. And if someone is good at that and they might not have any certification or any trailhead point or badge, I'm happy to hire them. That's my straightforward criteria. So you should more focus on projects than the certifications. Second is what makes a good Salesforce project. Yeah, this is a good question. I believe everyone should practice. A good Salesforce project is something that has a real business or real world use case. It clearly defines the business problem that we are trying to solve with that project, and it has the proper explanation of the solution that was chosen, like what was the done from the admin standpoint, which tool was used for the automation, and what level of custom programming or apex or lightning web components was used and why that was used. If if a project meets this criteria, that can be defined as a perfect or a good Salesforce project. When you make your next Salesforce project, make sure that when you define that or list that in your resume, you clearly explain these things. That will give you that will give more visibility to your future, what I say, employer. And like internships, when you say that I have done internship, then the interviewer is not looking forward to whether you learn or read about a concept or not. What you have practiced, what you have developed on your own as part of that internship, which projects you have worked upon, what modules you have created, what kind of automation you have created, what kind of apex classes you have written, or what kind of lightning web components you have created. That kind of thing the interviewers expect. They don't expect, okay sir, I read about reports, I read about flows, I read about apex, this, that. We don't expect that. We expect what you have done as part of it, practically done as part of your internship. That is more uh, important rather than the concepts. Now the second or the seventh part is resume certifications and learning roadmap. Here, like as I said, I have seen people creating resumes worth of 4 or 5 pages, but I don't think that is a right approach. So here I come up with a basic outlining of how you should create your resumes. Ideally, you should create a one-page resume that should be project focused, not the tool focused or a theory heavy. That should not be that. You should clearly specify roles and responsibilities rather than uh, explaining the features of the project. What role you performed, what responsibilities you took, that should be clearly mentioned. And do not use AI or any copy paste material for your project descriptions. If you have developed something, you should know what that project does. So you should be able to write the better project descriptions on your own. There should not be, again, grammatical mistakes, spelling errors like that. That should not be there. And certifications, how much they matter. I As I said, they can help you with shortlisting for the interview, but they are not the guarantee that you will be selected. Some companies might select you that because you have the certification, but you should also have equal uh, uh, skills to crack the interview. So basically, certifications are good for getting shortlisted, but they won't able to help you to just crack the interviews. You should have the skill. And again, when you say something that I have done this certification, so you should also have hands-on practice or hands-on skills or for that particular certification. Then that is the only worth of a certification for now, I guess. And this is my personal favorite. Again, that I tried highlighting that you can do, what you should do, suggested learning roadmap. Like if you are appearing for any role, you should first practice or learn or understand Salesforce fundamentals, then your respective career path, like admin or developer. Once you understand that path, you should prepare projects for your own path or prepare case studies. Once you prepare projects, something like that, then you should look for internships or training for that role so that you get real world exposure or you get to work on real business projects. And once you are done with that internship, you work on real business use cases or real projects, then start appearing for the interview by preparing for it and attempting mock interviews. I guess that is the suggested learning roadmap that you can follow. And that's how I used to prepare when I was first starting with the Salesforce thing back in 2014 or 2015, I guess. So this is what I had followed, and I believe this is still applicable. Let's see if we have any questions or anything so far. I think no. We have run overtime, and I tried keeping the last part for the Q&A segment, but I think there is no one to ask the questions. We will wait for 2 3 minutes. If nobody comes up, then I think we can wrap this live. So here, before what I say, we wrap, I wanted to suggest this website to you. This is our official website. We bring free courses, blogs, what I say, various free ebooks, depending on various Salesforce topics and all. You can go check it out. You will find value in that. You can get our free ebooks, or even there are some paid ebooks also. Here in this browser, I think I have some issues. Let me open it here. Okay, so here in our ebooks category, there are two things. One is free, where you can get Salesforce LWC Starter Kit or Salesforce Apex Starter Kit, Salesforce Kickstart Guide. This will definitely help you to get started with your Salesforce development journey. And in case you are just looking for overall overview of Salesforce just before entering into the Salesforce ecosystem, you can download our Salesforce Kickstart Guide. It is completely free. And if you are looking forward to like role specific blueprint, that what an admin should know in which order, without investing so much on heavy trainings or something, you can download our Salesforce admin blueprint that will give you step by step listing and the what I say syllabus that you should complete as an admin, and what topics you should know, what topics you should not, what are the like expected topics from a fresher or beginner. This guide will definitely help you out. Similarly, if you are looking for to start your career as a Salesforce developer, so this Salesforce developer blueprint will list out all the things that you should know as a developer, Salesforce developer, which topics you should know, learn, what are their use cases, what are the business scenarios that you can implement to showcase them as in your resume. That kind of entire step by step breakdown of each skill needed, you will get it here in this admin blueprint, sorry, in this developer blueprint. And if you know all of this but don't know which kind of projects I should create to reflect on my resume depending on my role, then you can purchase our Salesforce portfolio projects. That book lists 15 real world business projects with detailed requirement like any client gives to any developer or any admin. That kind of requirements you will get, and you will also get hints on how you can implement that, what you are supposed to do. So you can download this Salesforce portfolio projects ebook to create such 15 real business scenario based projects, and it will also give you clarity on how to understand and implement real world requirements. This will be your first experience of working as a professional Salesforce admin or developer. I hope and I think or I believe that you won't regret buying this. You can go and download it. In case you are looking for some training or internship, then we do offer paid Salesforce trainings and internships, and you can check out our uh, pricing section where you get different options that we are offering for admin and developer. So go check it out, and definitely when you enroll with us, you won't regret. You will get a professional training directly from me and my team of experienced Salesforce developers and admin. So this is about the Long Switch Academy portal. Let me know if you have any questions. Otherwise, we can wrap this. We'll wait for 2 more minutes. Then I think we should be good to wrap. I hope let me know what you feel about this session, and if you get value from it, you can also like, share, subscribe, and help us reach out to people who can take benefit from our free sessions. Before we wrap on this Long Switch Academy portal, we can. I wanted to suggest one more important uh, feature, that is you can book one-on-one free consultation with me for 30 minutes just to get your doubts sorted, your queries answered. So if you want to book one-on-one consultation, that you can also do it from our official website. All right, I think we don't have any questions, anything to discuss. Well, thank you very much for joining this live. We hope that you found this session valuable, and I tried explaining this thing with the easiest language possible. However, if you have any questions, any concerns, you can do reach out to us on this YouTube channel, or you can also connect to us through our website. And as I said, you can go and check out various pricing options and the ebooks or resources that we are offering on our portal. So until next time, keep learning and keep growing with Long Switch Academy. This is your host Shubham bidding you a goodbye. Happy learning. Thank you.